Has the expression "what Meghan wants, Meghan gets" ever occurred to you? It's a plan and a concept, not just a statement. And living in a California house with more bathrooms than pals may be Prince Harry's life sentence. It has nothing to do with luxury. It has to do with control. Meghan Markle did not enter Harry's house by chance. Existence, she transported him by air to a world she could create, away from his family and his homeland. And now that Prince William is showing mercy and King Charles's health is deteriorating, it's more obvious than ever that Harry wants to return, but he can't. Why, as she won't let him too? Let's get right to the point. A story is going around. Meghan is afraid to go back to the UK for safety grounds, and she was gently deposited into Hello magazine of all places. It seems that the UK is too risky for her and the children. Ignore the fact that she frequently invites camera crews into the lives of Archie and Leet, posts about them online. Kate takes flights to Mexico for weekend vacations in Britain. She draws the line there. Complete gibberish. There wouldn't be any Instagram pictures, Netflix specials, or documentary trailers with the kids in the forefront if this were about safety. The goal is to keep Harry confined to her world and away from his former one. Let's face it, Meghan would suffer greatly if Harry returned to the UK because the enchantment breaks as soon as he gets back in touch with William or laughs quietly with Kate while they are having tea at Kensington Palace. He recalls his identity. A man who used to get into difficulty with his brother for having a link with his father that wasn't filtered by public relations. But who wasn't the spare or the fugitive royal, once laughed unrestrainedly at Sandringham. Meghan, she is aware of this and is not taking any chances. The children are also unable to go since they could enjoy it if Archie runs through the corridors of Buckingham Palace and Lily curls up in her great-grandfather's armchair at Balmoral. Even worse, they might like it. Meghan also loses her hold. Distance is the foundation of her entire power structure. Feelings geographic, generational. You control the story and keep the children away from the royals. But when you let them in, they start to ask questions. Why haven't we already met Granddad Charles? How does it feel to be a true princess? Mommy calls them all harmful, but why? The irony, Meghan is actually protecting herself, even if she says she is protecting her children, from the worry that Harry might not require her as much as he would have in the past. That if Harry remembers what home feels like, he might want it back, not robbers in London or shady newspapers. Thus the walls are raised. This media threat, together with some trauma discourse, makes everything seem justifiable. However, this isn't the case. It is about Meghan making sure that a royal reunion never even happens. Not just about prohibiting one. She has led Harry to believe that the monarchy is a machine designed to destroy, that Charles and William are heartless and even dangerous, and that Britain is the enemy. However, when you take away the rhetoric, all that remains is a guy standing between two universes, one created by someone else's aspirations and one dictated by his past. And this is where darkness falls, because she will claim that Britain isn't safe even if Meghan and Harry break up someday. And it's more likely to happen when than if she still has the trump card. She will be supported by years of magazine comments and headlines. Harry might get a separation, however, he will never be free. Not after she has already used their kids as leverage. You can still see Harry going around Montecito in a baseball cap, trying to blend in while doing the grocery, but he didn't just fall in love and disappear. However, the Harry who used to laugh with palace employees became dirty, playing polo, and had the audacity to dress up like a Nazi at a party that has long since passed. All that remains is a shell that has been marketed as a reluctant Netflix celebrity and podcast guest memoirist. You can wager your last pound as well. Meghan contributed to that rebranding. You see, you don't need chains if you want total power over someone. All you need is isolation, removes them from their routines, their people, and anything that can serve as a reminder of who they were before you arrived. That's what took place here. Harry did more than simply go to California. He was taken out. He is saluting his grandmother at a royal function one day. The next time, he's with Oprah, feeding chicks in fancy boots. That isn't evolution reinvention on someone else's terms, is what it is. And don't be misled. Meghan married Harry not to live in the background. She wed him for leverage, symbolism, and legacy. The lineage is titled the attention of the world. Everything was a component of the brand. However, the drawback of marrying into a royal family is that you can never completely separate from the lineage. It follows you, which is why she's putting forth extra effort to cut off those ties entirely. There have been no visits, reunions, pictures with the grandparents, or even Zoom calls, just a constant stream of reports about how dangerous and poisonous Britain is. But here's the catch. As they get older, children ask questions. They won't continue to tolerate ambiguous responses. One day, Archie will observe that his last name differs from the one in his textbook. When Lily starts to piece things together after hearing rumors of castles and coronations, they'll want to know why they've never met their royal relatives, why Grandpa Charles isn't in any family portraits, and why there's a whole aspect of their identity that's being deleted, and the truth will get messy when that day arrives, because Harry is going to have to deal with something he has avoided for years. Responsibility. It's one thing to leave a family conflict. Raising kids unaware of half their heritage is another. And the foundation for future conflict is already being established. Not only does Meghan keep the children away from the royals, but she also makes sure they don't become interested in them. There are no bedtime tales about King Grandpa. The true legacy being created here is not pictures of little Harry in uniform, but rather American sunshine and carefully chosen content. A meticulously crafted story in which Meghan is the universe's center, and perhaps it works for the time being, since everything else is either harmful, out of date, or unimportant. Perhaps the children are too little to question it, but time is running out, and once that inquiry arises, everything falls apart, since a lost identity cannot be concealed by PR. A lost childhood connection cannot be replaced by an Instagram post. You may Photoshop someone out of your life, but you can't erase your origins. Harry is aware of this, whether he acknowledges it or not. He understands in his heart that those children are worthy of more than contrived moments and carefully manicured smiles. They are entitled to the complete truth and the whole picture. Even if returning to a place he has been taught to fear is painful, there's ticking clock looms over everything. Not simply Harry's inner turmoil or his children's impending curiosity, but something far more pressing. Charles the King is not growing any younger. The father is fighting illness and attempting to maintain the unity of a broken monarchy while coping with the loss of his younger son and 2 grandkids, whom he hardly sees, is aware every day without communication is a lost memory, an irreplaceable moment, and for Charles, time is not only valuable but also limited. Meghan doesn't seem to care about that portion, but perhaps she does, and that's the idea, because a full royal reunion ruins the entire interpretation of history rather than only undermining her authority. She has attempted to revise. Everything is turned upside down if Archie and Lilith view their grandfather as a lovely, dignified guy who reads them bedtime stories and takes them on walks through his garden at Balmoral, rather than as a villain. This makes the monster she warned them about appear human. And for someone who has established her authority by portraying herself as Thelan defender in a dangerous world, however, this isn't only about Meghan either. It's also about Harry's quiet, which permits this story to continue and fosters the notion that his own father would be dangerous to his children. Perhaps his native country is too dangerous and untamed for him to enter, and perhaps it's remorse. Perhaps it's fear or humiliation. Do Toto face the truth is to face all that he's sacrificed? It entails acknowledging that his isolation wasn't something that happened to him. Rather, it was something he permitted via repeated decisions. He made until the possibility of reconciliation all but vanished. And now that the door is hardly open, William might still wish to make amends. Charles is still hoping to see his grandchildren, but Harry is dancing perilously close to a point of no return. He might not be aware that Meghan won't be separating him from his family in the near future. It will be too late. Futile rather than a get-together, a recollection rather than another opportunity. Lifelong contemplation of what may have been had he taken action sooner. What Meghan doesn't realize, perhaps do but simply don't care, that when you destroy all your relationships, you leave your kids abandoned. They grow up without roots, without context, and without a sense of their origins. And that loss will haunt them in ways that no opulent mansion or brand deal can erase. Not only are Archie and Lee losing out on castles and titles, but they're missing the typical things building, relationships with people who are related to them. By running around gardens with cousins and hearing 2 bedtime stories about the royal family, that's what's actually being stolen here. And it could be too late to make amends when Harry finally realizes what's happening. That is the tragedy. This individual is gradually coming to the realization that he exchanged one type of control for another. From private manipulation to regal. Protocol from public scrutiny to seclusion in private. And now he's confined to a golden-barred cage. He made for himself, complete with a high-end sofa. Because the conclusion is predetermined if Harry doesn't struggle to get the kids out and Meghan won't let them go. A permanent breakup in the family, a monarch who dwindles without getting to know his grandchildren, 2 children nurtured in a carefully maintained fantasy with half of their tale erased. And a brother who witnesses his sibling vanish forever, not by accident or by chance, but by design.